You know who made it.
Live from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Not Facebook, Twitter. There is a Facebook streaming air. So if you wanted to watch on Facebook, hop on over to YouTube. I plugged all the links into the comments. Sorry about that. But we have a great night planned for you tonight with some hot topics, hot prizes, and hot guests. So let's get right into it. We've got some music. We don't want the... how about this vibe? How's this one? You guys let me know in the comments what you think of the music in the background. I'm going to put it a little bit lower. This one is feeling a little bit, I don't know, like we need to be picking up the vibe a little bit. But how's everyone doing? Where are you logging in from? Put it in the comments. What city are you in? What state? What country? Put it in the chat. What channel are you logging in from? We want this to be engaged. So as we get started, make sure that you're plugging your questions into the comments and that you're entering to win prizes. So let's get into it so we can get these hot guests in here. So prize one, you're going to want to tag Lavender to enter to win prize one. I'll show you what that is in here just in a second. Prize two will be Headset Advisor. Tag them, give them some love, blow them up. And you can enter to win prize two. And then prize three is hashtag revenue. And of course, you want to subscribe to the Whiskey Wednesday newsletter. Go to reveting.com and you'll be prompted to opt in. Tonight, we do have some hot topics. I would love to hear from you in the comments about what you think about these. And please, as we get into the discussion, let us know what you're thinking. Disagree with us. We want to hear from you, and it's supposed to be a party in the comments, so try to have fun too. But you saw the topics on the video, hopefully on some of the promotional materials, but here they are. And of course, per usual, we've got a tip jar. You can pause the video and share a little love. $5, $1. It's always fun to see the audience sending love. And of course, I'm a StreamYard affiliate. So if you like what you see here, I would love to help you get started with your live streaming. I do offer full service with podcast and broadcast. And I can also just coach you. But if you want to use StreamYard, you get a little bit of a discount and I get a little bit of a cut if you want to pause here and use these QR codes. But for tonight, I've got prize two up here first. So if you're going to enter Headset Advisor for prize two, then this is what you're entering to win. 30 minutes with Lydia Hutchison. So Lydia is awesome. If you know her, please tag her in the comments. Lydia, if you are here, we love you. She is a queen. She is sending cold email. I'm a marketer and I approve of her cold email. So you're going to want to talk to her and figure out what she's doing. Task Minions, that's 500 human validated contacts. That's data for you. So you're going to enter to win human validated contacts from Task Minions, or if you don't want that, you get 10 hours of VA service. So someone to help you. And you get, of course, a headset from Headset Advisor. So please tag Headset Advisor for prize 2. Prize 3, these are our guest prizes, and we're going to have them explain them here at the end of the show, but you're going to want to enter #revenue to enter to win a Hype Man t-shirt. Check it out here. You're going to hear from RajNATION here in just a minute. And Dr. Bryan Sagray, he's offering a journal, a pen, 3 books. And so we're really looking forward to sharing that with you. And we have prize 1, which is Tag Lavender, and you get 1 year with Lavender Pro. This will help you send your cold email with AI. Hello. And so they've worked in everything to help you with tone and the way you're writing your email. So check out lavender.ai if you haven't already. Tag them right now to enter to win a full year free on their pro plan. And the SD Lab. So 30 minutes cold call coaching with Tom Slocum. I know if you're a cold caller and you're here, put #cold calling. Let us know. I know there are many salespeople who watch Whiskey Wednesday. So enter to win. You get 1 year free of Lavender Pro, 30 minutes cold call coaching with Tom Slocum. Real quick announcement. We're looking for sponsors. So if you want to sponsor Whiskey Wednesday and you want to learn about it, head on over to reveting.com/sponsorships to learn more, to understand the audience demographics, and to see what other sponsors have said. I have a free masterclass coming up for women who want to build their brand. So let's take up space. I'll be going through my glass ceiling shatterer framework. That's August 2nd at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can register at reveting.com/register. And there is no Whiskey Wednesday tomorrow. 2nd week off all year. So we'll be back August 2nd with 2 awesome guests. We've got Heather Frady and Mandy McEwen. We're going to be talking about some hot topics. You're not going to want to miss this one. So make sure that you go and register. But without further ado, let's bring in our hot guests. Welcome to the show, RajNATION and Dr. Bryan Sagray.
What up?
How's it going, y'all?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me and having us. I'm going to speak on behalf of Dr. Bryan and say thank you on behalf
of course, yes. No, I'm excited to be here. This is awesome, you guys.
Well, I'm going to pull the clock right up. And Dr. Bryan Sagray, if you don't mind, let's start with you. Could you fill that 2 minutes telling us about yourself?
Sure. Wow. Yeah. So I am a performance coach. I started my business about 3 months ago. Yay. So it's 90 days in. And it's been incredible. The community has really rallied behind me. And it's just, I couldn't, speak more highly of LinkedIn. But anyway, so yeah, I was first, I guess, real career that I had was I was a professional endurance athlete, a runner for about, 10 or 15 years. And then I decided to go to medical school and become a foot and ankle surgeon. Then I did that for about 10 or 15 years. Then, unfortunately, I lost my dad to his 2nd round of lung cancer. And when he passed away, my family had this large, 47-year-old business in the state of Texas. They both, were uneducated, started his business in his garage and grew this huge, multi-million-dollar successful company, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning and electric. So I came back home after he passed away and took over as the president and CEO of the company to basically help mom keep it from going under because, they were high school sweethearts and it was just really tough for her. So I did that for about 3 years. We grew the company really quickly. During COVID, trade industries did really well. So the business did really well. We sold it for 12 times EBITDA. And then after being at home for about 90 days, my wife said, find something to do, get out of the house. So I basically came onto LinkedIn and really leaned into the community and built here for about a year and a half and decided to launch my business. And it's been phenomenal. So, I'm here to help you guys and give back my journey here on LinkedIn in these last 15 seconds, just so you guys know. I love Jesse. My journey actually on LinkedIn started on this show in the after party. And that was really what convinced me to invest here because I saw that it was much more than just on the screen. It was off the screen. So happy to be here, you guys. Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Sagray. That means so much to me. And Dr. RajNation, well, you are a doctor. I should call you Dr. RajNation. Can you spend the next 2 minutes filling up that space and telling us your awesome story? And like, I mean, if you guys aren't following RajNation on LinkedIn, he's like in all these like really famous places, and he does these really awesome raps and parodies. So like, I know 2 minutes is not that much, but if you could like fill us all in on your about me section.
I got you. Don't worry. Don't worry. And actually, my brother is actually a Dr. Nathan, so we'll give him the credit for the title, but we won't insult Dr. Bryan by calling me Dr. Raj Nation. So what's up, everybody? Rajiv Nathan, aka Raj Nation. As Jesse mentioned, I do a handful of different things. It all ties back to this deep belief, this deep rooted way of life that I think is what everything that I do is centered around, and I believe it is centered around. And that's just this concept that I think everyone deserves to have a voice. That's what really fuels me day in and day out. And the ways that I've been able to help create more voice in the world is through different forms of storytelling. So this is where it starts to, the branches of the river start to branch out. I do a handful of things. One of them is a yoga instructor. Another is, as Jesse mentioned, I'm a hip hop artist. I'm also a professional ring announcer and broadcaster for MMA. In fact, this Saturday I have an event I got to do. And then if that wasn't enough, what consumes 100% of my time, and I'd say everything else is like 101 to 120%, is being the founder and chief pitch artist of Startup Hype Man, where we help startups solve what I call the rush hour syndrome. If you've seen the movie Rush Hour, where Chris Tucker says, "Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?" That's what we solve for in helping them, as I say, not suck at how they pitch themselves so they can raise capital from investors and become the GOAT to market. What's cool with coming back to the hip hop stuff is we've been using hip hop as a way to create more energy in the ecosystem, and coming out later this year in a couple months is the first ever startup themed hip hop album, also titled GOAT to Market.
Oh my gosh. Talk about raising the vibes. I can't wait for that one. All right. Well, let's raise the vibes some more and get into our first topics. We would love to hear from the audience as well as we do get into this. But Bryan, could you kick us off with topic 1, mind over market, how to overcome mental blocks? I know I feel mental blocks. I don't want to admit to saying every day, but literally every day I'm a marketer. I'm always trying to create, and I always have to like ground myself and, try to like put myself in the right mental place to create. So how do you suggest people get past these mental blocks?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So if you really think about it, like 100 years ago, we didn't have these issues that we have now. And I think the main reason that we have all these constant mental blocks is decision fatigue, for sure. Like, there is so much information that comes in nowadays, emails, notifications, text messages, direct messages, right? Like phone calls. And so it's this constant overload of information, and you're having to make so many decisions that we never really had to make before. I mean, it used to be like, what's for lunch, what's for dinner, raise the crops, whatever. So it wasn't like complicated like it is now. And so now there's so much mental fatigue that happens. And with work from home, you're not in an environment with other people. So there's not as much energy, you're stuck in your home, and you're constantly having to make choices. And so I think it's happens to me every day, multiple times a day, right? Just ask my wife. I mean, she'll tell you guys how many mental blocks I have. But I think the key is it's so unique what works for some people, because for me, it might be, like going outside on a walk, or for someone else, it might be like, taking a pen and journaling for 20 minutes or whatever. And so I think the key is finding out what really works for you. But you definitely have to have a plan in place, for sure.
I love that. And for me, it's yoga. I love yoga. I love just being able to sit and do nothing as well. and I guess you could say meditate. I like guided meditations too. How about you, Raj? What do you do? Ah, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
I did that. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting any coughs in the background while he was going. My bad. Even though I teach yoga, I think I could really improve in this area of being able to just focus. And as you said, either sit and do nothing. I think one of the things I struggle with is being okay with just sitting and doing nothing without feeling guilty about it. I almost feel like I have to be occupied with something in order to like be productive. I don't know if anyone else who's watching this relates to that at all, but Dr. Bryan, everything you're saying is, I'm like, yeah, I should probably improve in that area.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, for me, I mean, it's like you said, I think the key is being okay with doing nothing or sitting with your thoughts, but like literally doing nothing. Because I think I laugh, and it's not an offense to everybody, but it's so funny when you see, oh, I wake up at 4, I drink kale juice, I do 80 minutes of yoga, I take 35 cold showers, then I eat broccoli for 3 days, and it's like people have all these things that they're doing to relax, but they're like 40 more things that they're doing to relax. So I tell people, like, start with one and do that for like 90 days and then add another one, right? But don't just start with like a 2-hour morning routine. It's crazy.
Oh, I love that 90 days, because I just changed my diet to becoming basically like a vegan that eats fish in June. But since I've done that, I haven't been working out as much. So finding that balance is really hard. So I'm glad that you said, like, think about it in 90 days. So that gives myself a little grace that I just started something new. So I should give myself 90 days before I really try to bring that other piece in to balance it out. Any suggestions there for others who are maybe trying to like fix one area of their life, but then struggle on something that they were doing well before?
Yeah, I think it can be really small stuff, but definitely you really have to fix one thing at a time. And I think the most important thing, and you touched on this too, Jesse, is sometimes people want to add something into their routine, but sometimes it's better to actually remove something, right? To break a bad habit first. Sometimes that can actually be more beneficial for you, is to get rid of a really bad habit first before you add a new one. But the key is to choose one thing at a time and stick with it. And then after you stick with that, then move on to the next thing. But it can be something as simple as like getting your coffee out the night before and getting it ready, or packing your gym bag the night before so that you don't have to do it in the morning. It doesn't have to be anything like earth shattering.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to add on this topic, or does anyone in the comments have any questions before we transition into story as a strategy?
I'm curious, Dr. Bryan. So you mentioned the people who write the post about like the 19 things they do by like 7 a.m. How important is it? Well, I'll reframe the question. What is your sort of stance on the line between like people who appear to be bragging about their morning routine versus people doing a morning routine and they're just maybe quiet about it? And is it okay to maybe not have the same thing every single morning?
It is, honestly. I think so. A lot of people, this might blow y'all's mind, or I'm sure there's people that are already doing this. So a lot of people talk about their morning routine, but I will tell you, your mental performance and your physical performance is built in the bedroom and the kitchen, right? And so I tell people, you can have the best morning routine ever, but if your nighttime routine sucks, then I don't care how good your morning routine is. So for me, I tell people, don't just set an alarm clock for the morning. Set a reminder alarm an hour before you want to go to bed at night. You turn the phone off, or you put it on blue screen filter mode. There's no more scrolling, no more social media, no eating. And so I tell people, lean into a really good nighttime routine, because if you get your sleep right and you get your nighttime right, then you can kind of fiddle around a little bit more in the morning. So that's just something I wanted to mention. I think the nighttime routine is as important or more important than a morning routine. And there's no better performance enhancing drug on earth than sleep, period.
Oh, that's speaking to my heart as a mom, because, I know my kids really need that routine. So, and my husband set an alarm on his phone to like remind him of like when he needs to start putting the kids down. on Whiskey Wednesday, because obviously, you know, he's taking care of that tonight. But yeah, I know it. What else would you say? Like, so you set the alarm, don't eat, try not to be on the phone. What else can you do to help us sleep?
The other thing too, I'm not promoting any products, right, as a doctor, but I will tell you guys that the majority of the population is actually deficient in magnesium. And a lot of people take melatonin to help them with sleep. What you may not know is that melatonin helps you fall asleep, but it doesn't keep you asleep. And so typically magnesium glycinate, I don't want to get too involved, but magnesium 500 milligrams about 30 minutes before you go to bed. And the beauty of magnesium is it helps you go to sleep, but then it keeps you asleep. So I would tell people, yeah, no cell phones, no eating, blue light filter. And if your doctor says it's okay, magnesium over melatonin.
Oh, interesting.
How about, to the extent that you can answer this with the disclaimer that you're not giving individual medical advice, what is your stance on CBD before sleeping?
Yeah. So I will tell you, it works great. So many people get really good sleep from that. It's something that even when I was still seeing patients, I always was really open about what they were doing. I was practicing in California, you know, so everything was okay there. And I do think a lot of people get benefit from that. And I'm honestly all for it, because it does give you really good REM sleep also. It's just the melatonin got hyped up for so long, and we're seeing now that it really helps people fall asleep like really fast, but then you still get those like waking up in the middle of the night. And CBD and magnesium, they don't have that issue.
Interesting. I like to take baths in CBD bath salt. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but it works for me. But let's transition before we run out of time. Topic 2, I'm going to pull it up here real quick. Story as a strategy. Master your message. So we're sort of switching gears here. But, you know, RajNation is like the pro in terms of the pitch. And I know we'll be getting more into that in the 4th topic, but story is a strategy. Like, you are the master at this. How do you do it?
Well, to segue off of Dr. Bryan's topic, right? He talked about mental blocks. It's important to have a story as a brand, as a company, whatever. But the most important story, I would argue, is the one that's between your 2 ears. If the story you tell yourself isn't strong, nothing else is going to be strong in your storytelling. So improve that part first. But when you look at what you're going to create for a company, one of the most interesting things you can look at that I don't think enough people do look at as just like, hey, here's a good example of storytelling, or here's a good example of like branding. And it might be weird to hear this, but like, I think the world's best brands are actually the world religions. Now, bear with me when I say this, because what they have done is lasted for hundreds and thousands of years, meaning they have withstood multiple different upswings and downswings in the economy. They have grown stronger with population growth and globalization. And through multiple pandemics, epidemics, diseases, all these kinds of things, they only continue to get bigger and grow stronger. And the people who ascribe to these different religions only believe more and more. Well, like, how does that happen? Well, there's good origin stories behind each religion. So people know, like they have something to follow in, something to believe, or something to follow, something to believe in. And while you're at it, I think more brands need to look at what is the religion of their brand. When I say that, what I mean is taking all these world religions, there's like very clear like rules behind them, right? And people who follow each religion, they have a pretty clear idea of like what it means to be in and what it means to be out. Whereas when we look at our companies that we build, we're so worried about, oh, if we say this here, well then, you know, if we focus too much on this market, then we're ignoring this target market. If we go here, then we don't capture this target market. And it's like you're so worried about losing all this percent over here that you don't just focus on one group of people and be like, this is who we're for. This is, you know, these are the people for us. and getting really strong on that user group or that target group. And through that, we good? Sorry, there's a window creaking over here in the corner. And through that, really, when you know who your target is and you focus on making the best possible experiences, delivering the best possible story for them, naturally, other people will start to convert, quote unquote, right? You don't have to worry about being in front of everyone all the time. You matter to your core, and you figure out and you get your core to adopt, and you almost baptize them, if you will, or you indoctrinate them, and I mean this in positive ways, into your belief system, into your ecosystem's belief system. And through that, people know what it means to be in. Other people observe those who are in, and then they decide, I also want to be in, or they go, that's not for me. I think a company like Patagonia is probably like a really good example of this, right? Like people who are Patagonia purchasers know what Patagonia is all about, and they know exactly what Patagonia is not about. That's the difference between being a brand, a startup, a company that people covet and people aspire to associate with and purchase, versus a brand, a company, a startup that people commoditize in their heads, right? Like conversely, like when you buy a can of peas at the grocery store, you're like, oh, 79 cents or 89 cents, I'll get the 79-cent one, right? You're not necessarily, you don't really care, are you getting Del Monte or Dole or the other one, right?
We definitely want LeSueur peas. Those are the best.
I have a small tin of like water chestnut in my pantry. Like, I don't even think I looked at who was selling it. I just was like, what's at eye level, basically, is what I went for. So like really think, when you look at your brand, are people looking at us as a can of peas, or are they looking at us more how they would look at a company like Patagonia? And if you're in the can of peas bucket, the problem is you're trapped in commoditization in the eyes and the mind of your target market, which means if you're B2B, it means every demo request you receive, they're going to shop you against 5 other people or 3 to 5 other people and just pick lowest price. Or they'll come back to you and say, hey, so-and-so can do it for this price. Can you do it for that? And then you're like, oh yeah, we want the business, so we'll do it. And so your value just inherently drops every single time you get a customer then, or most every time you get a customer. So really focus in and decide, what is the religion of your brand? And how do you, what are the rules? What does it mean to be in? What does it mean to be out? And once you figure those out, how do you then start putting it out into the market and letting people know, here's what it means to be part of this?
I love it.
Wow. That was really awesome. And I'm just talking about this with someone in terms of the word evangelist, because I was talking about my masterclass and how I'm helping women become brand evangelists for the companies they're working on by building their personal brands and telling their personal story, even though it's not the company and what the company sells. Just by them working for the company, they are evangelists. And someone's like, that's a religious term. You should be careful with using that word. And I was like, man, I hadn't even thought about that. But now you're saying, think of the stories of religion, and you even use the word coveted, which I've heard religious people use, and I'm like, man, up until this month, I hadn't really heard this, but it's really brilliant. What's your take on all this, Bryan?
Yeah, I mean, it's true, I think, where I was just on a call yesterday with a group that tries to recruit public speakers for different venues, and it was the same sort of thing where everyone wants to tell their story or their brand, right, or share their message. But I loved his example of Patagonia is a great example. There's a lot of them, but that's a really good one. And I think that being that standard can of like peas, or that just regular plain peanut butter jar, right? It's like very true, where when I was talking to this group and they were going to pick speakers, they didn't want to know like who I was, what I did, what my message was, who my client was. They were like, what do you do that people that you compete with don't do? What's the one thing that like you do? What's your one message? What's the one thing you stand behind? What's like what's your purpose, right? That's what they want to know. Like, what's your purpose? What's your passion? And how is it different than everyone else and what they're doing? And I think like in the marketplace nowadays, he's so right. You're either going to be a commodity or you're going to be the Patagonia, right? Or the Coca-Cola or the BMW, right? Like you're going to be the one that stands out. And in order to do that, you have to have something unique. And it doesn't have to be a product, right? It could be the fact that you host MMA events and you're a rapper, right? It could be just your image. It could be your story. It could be the message you put out, but you have to have something that is uniquely Jesse's, right? Like, what is your thing?
Yeah.
That kind of comes to what, at Startup Hype Man, our company's philosophy, our point of view is don't be the best, be the only. And I think more companies should be thinking along those lines. When you play the better and the best game, like, oh, we're the best of this lot, or, we're better than, 10 other competitors out there, you're inherently like sharing a sandbox with them. And you inevitably just get like feature compared down to the bone, whether you're selling a B2B SaaS or whether you're selling a backpack. When you are able to position yourself, brand yourself, storytell in a way that positions you as the only, you now shape the rest of the market in your image. And there might be others in the sandbox, but it's like you have the big kid sandbox and they're all stuck playing together in the little kid sandbox that like doesn't even fit all of them, but they're all sitting in it, with the shovel and the pail and the little truck. And that's the difference, right? When you're the best, you share that same size sandbox. When you're the only, it's your own sandbox, and you set the terms for the rest of the market too. People look to you, like even if they're looking at other companies who do something similar, they look at what you do as the standard and compare what they see in the others against how they see you do it.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, does anyone have any comments on this in the comments section before we transition on? This is a powerful story. I feel like we could talk an hour just on story as a strategy and mastering your message. I love thinking about it as a religion because like people who are super religious, it's like, that's the truth, right? And they're going to go try to, and some religions try to convince people of their religion. Some religions don't. So like, but still it's like their truth and they're always going to understand it. So I think it's a really great way to think. And they're going to go to war for it. Like, look at world history. They're going to fight,
right.
Just like brands.
We're literally willing to die for it. But
and I'll say,
you said the super religious, but even like casual religious,
it's true.
You will see how people who identify as like secular religious, right? They're like, it's whatever they were raised on. So that's what they are. But they don't necessarily like, go to church or go to mosque or whatever every week, or pray every day or anything like that. You'll even notice how it will influence decisions they make regardless. You'll see people say things like, I'm Catholic, so this, right? Even like there's random things that they're like, oh, it ties back to a belief system that I don't really follow every day, but it comes into place in certain cases for these things, right? That's the power. That's how much influence it holds, and that's how much a brand can help people find a way to identify with something that helps them be a better version of themselves.
I love that. Well, we've got 2 more topics to get into, and we're going to be getting into transition tactics from career change to sales success. And we're going to get into that right after this message.
Hey there! In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a WordPress website using the Divi theme. So years ago, when I first wanted to build a website, I was so lost when trying to figure out what I needed, which settings were important, and what tools to use. I really wanted someone to walk me through step by step and to show me which buttons to push. I was able to find someone to support me through that, and I wanted to extend that same level of support to you to help you get started on the right foot. So in this video, we're going to go over how to connect your domain and hosting, installing WordPress, installing a premium theme that I love called Divi, and important plugins that I install on every single website, and then what settings to use for those plugins as well as the theme. So if at any point you're thinking to yourself, it'd be so cool if someone would just do this for me, you can just pause the video at that point and scroll down so you see my guided DIY package. And I'm happy to set all this up, plus assist you as you build your website.
Hi, I'm Valerie Christine, and I'm so happy to be here on Whiskey Wednesday. I help women break free from stored trauma so they can be successful. If you've ever known how to do something, you had all the strategies, but you still weren't successful at it, it might be because of stored trauma. This can come up in the form of procrastination, self-doubt, people-pleasing, not having clear boundaries with yourself and with others. And often people look for the answer outside of themselves, but it's usually within. So if you're finding yourself struggling to succeed and you know what to do, you have a list of what to do, but you're just not able to get yourself to do it, reach out to me on Instagram at Heal with Valerie, and that's Heal with Valerie. I would love to talk with you and see in what ways we can support you to get to where you really want to be.
Awesome. Well, big shout out to Brittany and Valerie. And if anyone here is connected with them, please tag them, give them a shout out, and check out their service. If you need help with a WordPress website, definitely contact Brittany. And you know, if any of those things resonated with you from Valerie, she also helps women with anxiety, and you know, she's a coach that you can work with, and she has a whole community of other women who are struggling with that. So definitely reach out to her. So topic 3, transitioning tactics. Okay. So from career change, and you have quite the story, Bryan.
I got you.
Success. Yeah. Kick us off with this one.
Yeah, this is really near and dear to my heart. I will tell you, if you guys have ever thought that success is linear, I will omit the 4-letter words and tell you it is not. I mean, I got my start originally as a medical illustrator. I was an artist when I was younger, but when you grow up in Texas and everybody plays football, dad pretty much tells you there's no more drawing, pick up something that is a ball or a bat. And so I got started doing that, and then I became an athlete, and then I was a surgeon, and then I ran a plumbing company, and now I'm a coach. And so for me, I think that here's the most important thing to know, and it's really easy to say, but it's really, really hard to do. I wrote a post about this the other day that did really, really well, and it is never too late in your life to quit something and walk away from it to serve yourself so that you can be better for other people, to find your purpose, right? And that's something I help people do, to have that align with your passion. And just know this too, that you know, it's never too late to change, and that the most important thing that you really can do is to find something that brings you joy at the end of the day, because it's just, life is way too short, you know, to be miserable in a profession that you're in. And so I would tell you that if you're thinking about transitioning, if it's something that you're really, really passionate about, making a career change, even if it's for less money, if you have to move, whatever it is, I can tell you that in the long run, if that really is your purpose, it will be the best decision that you ever made. It'll be the hardest decision, but I've made that decision 4 times. And every single time I've ended up better than where I was before, not just financially and mentally. So it's never a bad decision to make if you truly are not fulfilled in what you're doing, because as Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
Well, thank you for that. That's really great. What would you add to that, Raj? Have you transitioned from other industries, or have you always done this?
Well, I actually, back in 2014, I accidentally quit my job.
Accidentally?
Accidentally. I was no longer happy there. I had not been happy for several months. The last year I was there, I was moved into a sales role off of an account management role the previous couple of years. And I had no training, so I didn't actually know what I was doing. It's funny now because one of the things we do is train people on sales in a way, but at that time I had no idea what I was doing. I got put on a PIP, and then I don't know what, but like the PIP really motivated me. Just because I was like, oh, you MFers, I'll show you kind of thing. And I like did really well for like the 60, I think it was the 60 days that I was on that PIP, and I beat the PIP, but then I got on the other side of it, and I was like, I really only did that just to prove them wrong.
Right.
But I didn't really like want to be there anymore. I wasn't satisfied there. And on my birthday, December 3rd, I had my one-on-one with my boss. She was traveling. So we had it over the phone, and we were just kind of doing like the weekly like pipeline check-in basically. And she was like, how's this deal looking? And I was like, I don't think it's going to close. Okay. And how strong is your pipeline? Like, what do you think is going to close this month at all? And I was like, not this. Okay, what kind of prospecting? What new leads have you been bringing in? And I was like, not many. And I was just like, and I don't know. I think I'm just like done. And I promise you, I did not wake up that day being like, I'm quitting today. I just kind of like accidentally blurted it out. And so it was funny because there was like a 5-second pause, and then she was like, wait, like done? Or like, what do you mean when you say that? And then I was like, yeah, I just don't think I want to like do this or be here anymore. And I will say, I think that was a testament to the relationship that we had, that I subconsciously felt comfortable sharing that. And yeah, I don't know, we talked it through, and she was actually really awesome about it. She said, it was December 3rd, and she said, all right, make sure this is what you really want to do. And if it is, tell me it's official on December 14th, and then make that your 2 weeks notice. And that way you can finish out the month here and get 2 paychecks to close out the year.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you were real with yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then what did you do after that, and how did you transition?
I had a couple month period that I called fun employed, because I was like willingly unemployed. And so it was a combination of just like some small travel. And then I did take a couple of job interviews, one of which, Bryan, you might find this interesting. I definitely like self-sabotaged. Like I got to the last
my favorite
round. And I mean, more so I was just like real with them, right? I had the job in the bag, and then I was just like real with them. When I really did learn about what the position would entail, I was like, I kind of was like, I think I'll get bored with that pretty soon. Like just like very honest opinions I was giving. And then, it turned out I didn't get the job, but they were like, we loved you, but like, we just don't think this position was going to be a good fit. And I was like, yeah, I didn't think so either. Ultimately then it led to starting my first business, which did fail 2 years later. But then that ultimately led to Startup Hype Man. So honesty, in many ways, just being honest and real is what led to me to where I am today.
Just all worked out.
I
Well,
love it.
I transitioned too. I started my career working in politics. In 2006, I was an intern on the Hill for Senator Dick Durbin. I grew up in Illinois.
Yeah.
Oh, Lauren was a page. That's so crazy.
Oh, really? Yep. I
Yeah.
remember the Senate pages. So I was a press intern, and that was
Awesome.
awesome. It would help write press releases on really interesting stuff like the Emerald Ash Borer. Really, no, I got like kind of boring stories, but like it was still really a great experience to learn how the press worked at the time, and then transitioned into political campaigns, and then worked for like public campaigns like human trafficking awareness for a DA's office. And that was in California. So at that point, that was a lot. And I was like, I think I'm just going to use these same skills, email marketing, social media marketing, and try to work in tech. And so I landed a social media marketing job in a B2B SaaS company and haven't looked back since. And that was, I think, 2015. But yeah, it's
Did you say Emerald Ash Borer? Did I hear that right? Like the beetle that like destroyed all the trees in Illinois?
Oh yeah, I wrote a lot of press releases about them.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really
it.
important to like farmers. And so
Yes.
like the people busy, like trying to get Dick Durbin in national outlets. They were talking about the national topics, but they were like, hey, intern, if you can get us in these like rural newspapers, here are the topics that are of interest there. And then I would just go to work trying to build relationships with reporters to be like, hey, here's what we're doing, try to move legislation forward to help with this problem. And so, yeah, it was just a really interesting experience. Awesome. And it led
Time
into
flies. I really didn't think that was 2006. Like that was what, 17?
You guys
no, that was 17.
You guys are babies.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are babies.
Yeah, I was in college then. But yeah, it was an interesting time. But let's move into topic 4. We got to transition. I want to make sure, did anyone have any questions on that? Please plug it in. And make sure to just like ask to keep it up there if we're missing it, because we want to make this about you, everybody in the comments who's talking. So the interns are the unsung heroes of getting legislation passed. So awesome, Jesse. Thank you, Lauren. And we have an intern here at Whiskey Wednesday, Emily. She's getting credit at Ohio State University, and she's been helping with the show. So big thanks to Emily, who's also in the audience. But let's get into topic 4. So this is one I've been looking forward to. I met you on Hype Cycle. I don't know if you remember, but you were a coach. I was a contestant. And I had to do a cold call and was it a cold call? I don't know. It was a pitch of some sort.
I think it was a
demo.
presentation, right?
It was
or
a
a mini demo or
right.
presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And I remember studying you and listening to, what is it? Not, it starts with a P, and it's a famous name, Picasso. Your Picasso method. Is it Picasso method?
No, you're close. You have the letters kind of switched around. The K-Pasa method.
K-Pasa.
K-Pasa.
So that's weird how your brain works like that. But no, that was what, a year and a half ago. But I studied my whole approach for winning Hype Cycle, which I won that cycle, was really studying the judges and your approach. So that's why I was like, I'm going to go find him as a guest on a podcast and just listen to him talk. And that's what you were talking about, was K-Pasa. And so I went on there trying to do my K-Pasa, and it wasn't great. Like, I didn't get the best, but I got by.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So like that leads into this 4th topic, which is pitch perfect, elevating sales and marketing presentation. So how can you help our viewers do that?
So let me touch on the K-Pasa method for a second, because I think it really influences presentations. So the K-Pasa elevator pitch formula, as it's called in full, is a formula that we created several years back, specifically for that purpose, right? How to craft a really strong and compelling elevator pitch in 60 seconds or less. And anyone in the comments, you can even write in, like, what does K-Pasa mean in Spanish? I'm sure many of you would know that K-Pasa in Spanish means, I'll pause to let some comments come in before I bury the lead there, or kill the lead. Many of you know K-Pasa in Spanish means what's up or what's happening. And when you have that opportunity to introduce your company, right, you've got that 30 to 60 seconds. And Dean got it there saying what's up in the comments. When you've got that upfront opportunity to introduce what your company does or what you do, use the K-Pasa formula, PASA, which is problem, approach, solution, action. Problem, approach, solution, action. Problem, approach, solution, action. When you speak in that format and that flow of information, you are providing context and frame of reference first for why you even exist or why your company exists. Most importantly, though, you're leading with empathy. You're relating to where your target audience is today and using that as the understanding and the common ground to ultimately talk about what your offering is and why it would help people. So you're providing context, okay? Problem, approach, solution, action. Without the context, it's a lot of like a me show. And it's a lot of just like shoving product features down someone's throat. But when you start with the problem and you start with where your audience is today because of that, you force yourself to be audience first instead of product or company first. And the more you can be audience first, the more success you're going to have. So that's the elevator pitch formula. Now, when you think about how it can apply to a presentation, well, your entire presentation is really built around that que pasa. It is the movie, like the presentation is the movie, the que pasa is the movie trailer. So you're expanding on the plot that you've set up through que pasa. And just a couple quick presentation tips I'll give with that as the backdrop. I think most companies view presentations all wrong. They have capabilities decks, which no one wants to see. It's like 14 slides of like all the cool things you do. So don't have a capabilities deck or don't use it. The other is it's not technically a capabilities deck, but it's still basically doing the same thing. Slide 1 is like, for some reason, photo of like your company headquarters. And then it's like, and we also have offices in these different locations around the world. And well, maybe now that everyone's working from home, no one does that, that slide anymore. And then you have like the logo slide of all the people you've worked with and why that makes you awesome. And it's like, hey, we're great. No, we're great. No, trust me, we're really great. Slide after slide after slide. And nobody wants to sit through that. Instead, really reframe how you think about this, and consider that your presentation is your company's point of view on the state of the industry and where it is headed / where it's supposed to head, whereby your company then is the logical purveyor of elevating people, elevating brands, elevating companies towards that future that they don't want to be left out of. The impact a really strong pitch deck generates, and I use pitch deck and presentation interchangeably, the impact that a really strong presentation should generate is you're not so much pitching them, you're actually teaching them. And if you are teaching them, what you're going to do is create this moment where they say to themselves, I never thought of it like that before. That's really interesting. That Jessie, she's onto something here. We got to keep listening to her and following what she has to say, right? They don't just see you for the product or the service that you sell. They see you as a thought leader in the space. And if your company is a thought leader in the space, they want to get on board with that rocket ship because they know, hey, like they're no longer necessarily so concerned about this other company has this feature and you don't, right? They see why you would create your product in the way that you've created it. And if they emotionally buy into that, they're okay with some of those minor trade-offs because they know that you know how the market is moving and they want your help beyond just buying the product itself. They believe in your company's vision for getting them to where the market, getting them ahead of where the market is moving.
I was on mute. What do you say about coaching on the sales call though? Because I've sort of learned that you should try not to coach on the sales call.
Coaching, what do you mean when you say coaching who?
Well, you were talking about like in the pitch, like educating them and teaching them. So I'm thinking of that as sort of coaching. And I struggle with on a sales call when we're going through that whole problem section and, having them sort of feel their pain is like get them to sit in their pain and not save them from it. Because of course they need to hire me to help them save it.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good. Yeah, that's a good point and a good question. It's reframing reality for them. So you're giving them a different lens from which to view it. That's where they go, I never thought of it like that before. If your presentation, or even if without slides, if you talk and you just like rehash the things they already know, then that's like almost, what's the word? Is placating the right word to use there? Not pandering, one of those words. You're patronizing them. That's the word. You're patronizing them. Versus if you can find a new lens to reveal something that will have them say, oh, I didn't think of it like that before. So a really good example of this would be a company we worked with a while back in the e-commerce space. So it was an e-commerce software that helps any e-commerce retailer like make their site like what you would expect an e-commerce site to function from like a user perspective. But what we did in the setup in that presentation was talk about, and it's going to sound wild, but trust me, it works. It worked and it works. Talk about the difference between YouTube TV versus the TV Guide channel. And it has nothing to do with e-commerce, but it ties to it later, because you're like, hey, do you remember the TV Guide channel? Do you remember how like you'd go to like channel 4 and then you'd watch this slow scroll for 2 minutes just to find out Friends is on channel 39 tonight? There's no rhyme or reason as to why the channels are ordered the way they are. And you had to go there to figure out what was on when. And then for some reason, once a year, the cable companies would just change all the channels and you have to relearn everything. That's totally different than a platform like YouTube TV, where when you turn it on, everything's already organized by type of show and type of network. And then on top of that, as you start watching it, like there's no slow scroll or anything like that, right? There's not even channel numbers. But as you start watching, it learns what you like to watch. So the next time you turn it on, it's already got pulled up playing like the thing you probably want to watch at that hour. And if it's not that thing, it's got 2 other suggestions of the thing you probably want to watch at that hour. And every time you log in or every time you turn the TV on, your viewing experience gets better and better and better. So like we created that introduction. There was a little bit more after that, but ultimately it was to say your website, your consumers are looking at your website the same way that they look at how they get YouTube TV or Netflix or Spotify, right? All these platforms that are built that way. Your website is another version of that. So if the experience doesn't reflect what they're getting where else in their life, getting these in other areas of their life, if they don't get that on your site, they are going to be really annoyed and they're going to go to your competitor. So we took the same situation of like, hey, these are the challenges with running an e-commerce site, but reframed it completely to talk about how the market thinks differently now. In not just to say the market thinks differently now, like, oh, 28% of people now shop online versus 28% more of people shop online than 1 year before, right? It's not that kind of stuff. It's having a really good way to tell the story that gets them really thinking like, because then what they do is internally they go, hey, why haven't we thought about Netflixifying our e-commerce site before? What have we been doing, right? And they see, wow, you understand this better than I understand this, and I work in this every single day.
Yeah. Bryan, have you told us, your reaction on all of this? Like what's like, first of all, I want to like acknowledge what Raj said, but I also want to get your take on Pitch Perfect, elevating sales and marketing presentation. But man, everything you said, Raj, is like so interesting. And YouTube TV, I see like people commenting like, yes. And I'll say like my husband, he watches YouTube TV. I'm always like, man, can we get off YouTube? But like, this is real. Like,
well, they keep jacking up the price, but now I'm like entrenched, and all my shows are recorded on there from years past. That I somehow think I'm going to go back and watch something I recorded 2 years ago, but I don't leave because of that.
Totally. Bryan, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's like with what I do, there definitely is a marketing aspect, but my marketing aspect honestly comes through with my like storytelling ability. I mean, that's like what I did from day one here was like, I feel like that's something I do well. And so I think that message is what stands out for me. But what I liked about what Raj said about that possum method is, everything that we do in life honestly boils down to that last A, action, right? It's like you can have the idea, the theory, the thought, you can have the best plan ever, you can do all the prospecting, you can build the pipeline, you can do everything so perfect. But if you suck at taking action, if you are scared to take the first step, right? If you're scared to actually do the work, right? You can put everything in behind, but when it comes to execute and take the actual action, if you can't do that, then nothing else that you've ever done, really works. And so for me, it's all about making sure that my message that I'm putting out there is in alignment with with the client that I'm trying to get in touch with. And then after that goes out there, everything else is about like action. It's getting in front of my audience. And really it boils down to, in coaching at least, I think the reason, you know, it goes back to topic 3 with transition a little bit, but I think the reason the transition for me has been so smooth is because it's all about communication, right? In sales, it's all about talking, language, reading people, building trust quickly, right? Connecting to them. And I think, you know, as a physician, as a surgeon, I mean, over like those 15 years, I probably talked to thousands of people, right? Thousands of patients. And so I never thought I was in sales, but really that's what I was doing the whole time, was having conversations with people and not convincing them, but I had to build trust with mom and dad in the room and a 13-year-old kid that had a fracture of his ankle, right? I had to build trust that I'm going to put your kid under anesthesia. I'm going to cut him open with a knife. I'm going to, you know, open up his body to the outside environment, right? So that's like the ultimate sale, the ultimate trust. And so I think for me, you know, my strategy was just to build that connection. Whatever you have to do to build trust quickly, if you can do that, if you can build trust and relate to somebody very fast, everything's pretty simple after that, in my opinion.
Well, you know, Dr. Bryan, the first P in KPASA is problem, but the idea behind that is you're generating empathy with your audience. That's what you're doing, right? In that situation is you're empathizing with where they are and then leading them to, so here's what needs to happen.
And it pulls them here, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, have you seen, I don't remember the stat, but there was a study that like doctors and surgeons are more likely to get sued if something goes wrong, if they felt the doctor
the bedside manner
didn't listen to the bedside manner.
And luckily, I will say, my wife always teases me, but you know, to be a surgeon and practice as long as I did and to not get litigated is like, you know, I'm a very small percentage. and I honestly think it was because, and I thank my dad for this, you know, being raised blue collar with no education, but he had phenomenal speaking skills. And it really was being able to build the trust. But more importantly, and I think this is key in sales too, if something goes wrong, right, because stuff always goes wrong. If something goes wrong, just say something went wrong. Say, I don't know. Say, I'll get back to you, right? If something goes wrong, it doesn't matter if it's just the human body. Even in sales, if you don't know or if something goes wrong, be so transparent, because I can't tell you how many times we're talking about like life or death. And I would tell the patient, hey, look, things didn't go 100%. They went 90%, but your recovery is going to be amazing. You'll have the same result, but I just want to be transparent with you. That patient, they're never going to sue you, right? Or that prospect, if you're open with them, they'll pick up the phone the next time. But as soon as they can tell that you're telling those white lies, you know, you're not being transparent, they pick that stuff up.
Dr. Sagray, that's really powerful. Absolutely. And it's really speaking to me. Like, personal story is, you know, I may have to get surgery. And so I'm interfacing with doctors and doing different tests. And you're absolutely right. And Raj, like, your KPASA method, it is sort of
so
similar
good.
to like
It's
what
so
a
good.
doctor would do, right?
It's genius.
Absolutely. No, and I would really love to hear from the audience on all of this and what, you know, their perspective is, because this has really taken an interesting, you know, curve of a conversation. But before we wrap up the conversation and sort of get into prizes, which, by the way, if you haven't entered to win, they're up here. Tag Lavender, Headset Advisor, or put hashtag revenue to enter to win tonight's prizes. But Raj, you kicked us off on this topic. Could you wrap us up on it too?
Yeah. Well, on the note of transparency, my friend Todd Capone has a great book called The Transparency Sale. Highly recommend. It's literally all about the importance of and how and why to be a transparent salesperson and why that's what wins at the end of the day. The wrap up point will be come back to one of the things I said earlier, right? You have so many choices in how to position yourself, but there's only one you. There's only one of your company. So don't be one of many, be the only one.
That's really powerful. Well, thank you so much for, you know, covering that topic with us. And real quick, while, you know, we're all still here, let's pull up the prizes that you guys both so kindly are giving away tonight at the beginning of the show. Let me pull myself out of here. I'm going to cover myself up and let's see. Let me just pull myself. Nope, that doesn't help because then you can't hear me. But could you both just explain, what people are going to win if they put hashtag revenue and they win your prize tonight? I'm going to pull you
Go
up,
ahead, Raj.
Raj.
The shirt I'm wearing right now.
Woo!
Believe the
Love that.
hype. You can
Believe
get one
the
of
hype.
these badass T-shirts sent from me. I'll ship it to you, to your house, to your office, wherever you need. But you
Dude,
can officially believe the hype.
It reminds me of like the old school, really, really classic, like Bo Jackson. Remember his cool T-shirts with like the letter blocking? That's an awesome shirt.
You know where I got the inspiration.
Yes.
So here's legitimately when we made these. It took 8 months to get the right design finally, but my whole thing was it just has to look like a regular T-shirt you would want to wear, not like company merch.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. And Bryan, could you please explain to folks what they're going to win if they put hashtag revenue and win tonight's prize from?
Yes, so mine is definitely not as cool. Mine is kind of like the nerd at school. His is like the cool kid, like jock. So mine, I'm giving away. So 3 books that really changed my life are, and I know I'm talking about books right now, right? One is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. If you haven't read that book, what are you thinking? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, this book was written by a guy who was an emperor, and it was the first recorded autobiography ever written. Anyways, it's a fantastic book. If you've never read Meditations, hopefully, you win and I can give it to you. That's book number 1. Book number 2 is called A Man's Search for Meaning, which is written by Viktor Frankl. He's a psychologist that went through the concentration camps and lived to tell about it. And he writes about finding your purpose in life and how how that can change your life. And then the 3rd book, everybody here probably knows, written by James Clear, called Atomic Habits. A great book, lots of good nuggets in there. And then something I really stand behind is journaling. So I'm going to give away a journal with a nice pen. And yeah, hope you guys really enjoy it.
Well, that's
Can I stir the pot with one more offering? Actually, now just on the spot because Bryan has so many cool things on his side. In addition to the T-shirt, you know how on LinkedIn you have that you can click that button next to your name and it'll be like a pronunciation of your name?
Yes.
I will give you, by choice to the winner, either I will give you your name announced in professional ring announcer style.
Yes, dude.
Or
I want this.
I will give you it's a 10-second audio clip that you get, or I will get a 10-second rap about you that you can put on your profile there.
Can you just say, let's get ready to rumble? That's all I want. If you can do that.
Can we get a quick rap?
I love it, dude.
Okay, so look, I'm out here fidgeting, looking at this StreamYard thing, and it's riveting. I'm here with Jesse Lizak, and I got my whiskey on time here to bypass Dr. Bryan Sagray. He got so many damn things to say. We got on the live stream AP McIntosh, Paul Deich, Lydia Tapia Hutchison. Yo, we closing this out, but really, we're all friends, so we're saying what's up again.
Whoa,
yes, dude.
Love it. Yes,
That's
thank you.
Just
on that note, we got to give away some prizes. So let's do this. And I hope, everyone who's still watching, you can join us for the after party. Raj, Bryan, I hope you guys can join us.
I'll be there.
Quick 1 hour. You don't have to stay the whole time. Google Hangout, meet some of the guests, some of the regulars. Hope you can come out. And I'm going to just share my screen and give away some prizes here. So let's start with prize 1. So this is lavender, and I switched it up a little bit this week. And so as you both know, or not as you both know, but as the audience probably knows, I was doing the headset with Tom Slocum. So I mixed it up and did Lavender Pro with Tom Slocum. So who's going to win this one tonight? Let's do that, Bryan. Let me share that screen. So you had to tag Lavender to enter to win. We had 7 entries. So here we go. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Topher or Alexa? Maybe
Rachel.
Maybe Rachel. Caesar.
I'm feeling it.
Who's David? Rachel.
I knew it.
Wow.
Yes. I told you, Rachel.
I believe I have your email, Rachel. If not, I'm going to send you a form to collect the email so we can connect you with the brands to get those prizes to you. So congratulations. And let's do prize 2. And quick reminder on prize 2 it was the headset from Headset Advisor, the 30-minute cold call, or I'm sorry, 30-minute email coaching from Lydia, and the Task Minions prize. So let's go ahead and pull that off of our faces and share my screen to see who wins this prize. Stop share. We're going to start this one. Here we go.
That's the music.
9 entries. Oh, Matthew, Topher, Lauren, Alexa,
Matthew
Virginia.
Desmond. That's my pick.
Oh, Virginia, Topher.
Topher!
Congratulations.
Look at
Topher
that
won
swerve
last week.
finish
I'm pretty
there.
sure in the week before as well. So
For you, animal.
congratulations to Topher. And we're going to do prize 3. And so this is the one that we just talked about from our guest. So let's see who the lucky winner is that gets to win these ones. Sharing. Who is this? Okay, we got 10 entries. Is it Lauren, David,
Lauren, you can't do
Topher,
this.
Rachel, AP, Alexa, Paul?
Yes.
All dice.
Congratulations, Paul. We're going to have to get your email from you because I'm not sure I have it. So for any winners who are still watching, I'm going to put this link in the comments because this is where I collect your email addresses so that we can connect you with the brands. So I'm going to drop this in the comments on all the platforms real quick. So if you won, fill that out and we will be in touch likely tomorrow, but give us a week to send an email to connect you with those brands. But thank you so much to our guest tonight for coming. We only have one more thing, actually, and that's the guru of the week. So the guru of the week, who is the guru of the week? Drum roll. We talked about this before the show, who you both agreed is literally the guru of the week for many reasons. Who is this person?
It
Raj?
is, well, representing one of the sponsors of tonight, Lavender, Miss Jen Allen Knuth.
Yes, congratulations to Jen. Please tag her. I'm going to pull myself out here. I'm going to put both of you up. And could you both just explain why you chose her to be the guru of the week this week?
Go ahead, Raj.
Cool. Yeah. I had the pleasure to meet Jen about a little over a year ago, and we've become friends since then. We were both like geeks who were sitting in the front row at a conference. Like we both like being that like student and like taking all the notes and getting as close to the stage as possible. She's a boss. She used to champion the Challenger sale. Now she runs community at Lavender. Just really knows her stuff. Very humble as well, and everything that she puts out on sales content, cold emailing, how to sell. You can tell really comes from the heart, comes from experience, and she's never saying things in a way that you feel like you're being talked down to, but like you're being spoken to as a friend.
Yeah, that's so true. I met Jen probably like a little over a year ago, and we've kept in close contact. And actually, she reached out to me when I had gotten laid off from my previous company when I was transitioning before I launched my business. And what I love about Jen is like she reminds me a lot of my wife in the sense that like she's got a great sense of humor, right? She's not scared to share like funny stuff on LinkedIn. She's kind of crass, but like not crass. And so she's just who she is, which honestly, Jesse, that's why I love you too, because you're just who you are. And it's like, if people like it, great. If they don't, cool, that's good too. And Jen just reminds me a lot of that. She's a good person, great content, is doing a lot of really cool stuff for Lavender, and it's just all over the place, and can't say enough about her.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations to Jen. Yes, she is awesome. If you're not following her, then please someone tag her in the comments if you haven't already, so everybody can go follow her because she puts out really great content, especially for salespeople who are sending email, but really any salespeople. She's talking about different scenarios all the time. Well, for both of you, where can our audience find you after the show if they want to reach out to you?
If you are tuned in on LinkedIn right now, just like click my name and connect with me. And there's the follow option, but there's also the connect option if you hit like the 3 dots and go down. So connect with me. And then you can learn more about our company at startuphypeman.com. And if you want to follow me personally on Instagram, which is where you'll see a lot of my like life of everything between my travel stuff with my wife, my friends, but also the MMA announcing, the yoga, the hip hop, all those things. My personal Instagram is at RajNATION.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
I'm going to go follow you. And Bryan, how about you?
So I'm almost 41, so I am only here on LinkedIn. You won't find me anywhere else. If you go to my profile, like Raj said, please connect with me. I promise I won't look at your profile and then never accept a connection request. I'm not that guy. And then on my profile page or on my business page, either one, I have a link to my website, my landing page. And you guys can book a free 1-hour call with me if you want to dive in deeper about, overcoming limiting beliefs or whatever you want to do. I'd be happy to help you guys out for an hour at no charge. And yeah, just wanted to thank you again, Jesse, for having us here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you both for being here. And I hope you can join us in the after party. So both guests, I dropped the after party link. It's just a Google Hangout in the private chat here. And I'll close this out with an outro video here. I also dropped the after party link in the comments of all the channels where we're live right now. So I hope our audience will join us. And until then, we'll see you August 2nd. And next week we are off. So cheers. I hope everybody has a great end of their July.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Yes.
Just see you at the after party.
You know who made it.